World War I erupted out of the southeastern sector of Europe in an area commonly referred to as the Balkans, a place infamous for its numerous ethnic tensions and various border disputes. It was so bad, in fact, that this area would later come to be known as the Powderkeg of Europe, as it would only take a small spark to send the entire region up in flames. This spark came in the form of Gavrilo Princip assassinating the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, Francis Ferdinand. Following this event, several countries declared war, and the world quickly devolved into one of the largest scale conflicts humanity has ever seen, that being World War I. This war lasted 4 grueling years, resulting in millions of deaths and casualties, so it's understandable that the leaders of the countries involved would attempt to right the wrongs of the war and prevent another one from occurring. Their solution was the Treaty of Versailles, a document that was, at its core, fundamentally flawed. For starters, the meeting at the Palace of Versailles only saw the victors benefiting, with many countries like Japan, Italy, and Germany being shunned or flat out ignored despite their involvement in the conflict. Speaking of Germany, as they were on the losing side of the war, their contributions to the treaty were almost non-existent. Rather, they were forced to sign the document as an ultimatum. They agreed to forfeit land, military strength, and pay war reparations that cost the country $33 billion. That's a staggering $400 billion in today's money if you compensate for inflation. And finally, the document created the League of Nations, a peacekeeping organization that sounded good in theory but lacked any real power to make change, as the United States refused to join. The main issue with the treaty is not the ideas it created, but the fact that it ignored those from many of the countries involved. This resulted in many people feeling cheated out of what they fought for in the war, causing them to lose pride in their nation and becoming desperate for a better alternative. For Germany, this alternative was offered by Hitler, who, after throwing the weak Weimar Republic to form the Nazi Party, vowed to right the wrongs of the treaty and restore the country to its former glory. He did so by promising to restore the German army and economy, as well as remilitarizing the Rhineland and reclaiming German populated areas. While these claims did reinvigorate the German people, they also served to push Hitler's own agenda. That was namely apparent in the novel Mein Kampf, which translates to My Struggle in German. In the book, Hitler slanders many of Germany's minorities as subhuman. This ideology quickly spread throughout the German people and ultimately resulted in the millions of deaths of Jews in the Holocaust. Furthermore, there was also the armed wing of the Nazi Party, who executed political rivals, critics, and really anyone that was deemed unnecessary in Hitler's eyes. This, in tandem with excessive censorship and self-promoting propaganda, helped to maintain complete authoritarian control over the German population. Similarly, 1,300 miles south, a man by the name of Benito Mussolini was simultaneously trying to do his own fascist revolution. Much the same way that Hitler did his awe-inspiring speeches rallied over 40,000 Italians to convert to fascism. They threatened to overthrow the Italian government, and this threat actually worked. And on October 31st of 1922, the current king of Italy at the time handed over the throne to Mussolini. Once in control, he drove the Italian masses to believe that he was trying to reinstate the Roman Empire. But before he could do that, he had another priority he wanted to deal with, that being the Kingdom of Ethiopia. He wanted revenge for the 2 wars they had lost previously, and now that Italy was under his command, he declared war on the country. Ethiopia, being a member of the League of Nations, went to the council to seek an intervention from the members, but all they did was watch as a fellow League member crumbled under the weight of Mussolini's forces. This would be a reoccurring theme and massive problem with the League, as they were hesitant to intervene in hopes of preventing another war. They also possessed no standing army to even think of getting involved should the need have arisen. But most importantly, without the United States, they lacked any real intimidation factor to prevent countries from ignoring the treaty in the way that Italy and Germany did. These flaws would ultimately end up in the treaty that was designed to prevent another world war being directly responsible for causing the second one. Anyways, let's take a step east from Germany and Italy and take a look at Russia, a country that was experiencing its own growing pains at the turn of the 20th century. For them, it all began with the Great War, a conflict that many people in the country were not at all prepared to fight. In fact, the soldiers were so ill-equipped in the war that they didn't have ammunition to fire their weapons most of the time. Not to mention, many of their leaders were so incompetent that they led their soldiers to their untimely demise. Such failures in the war led to hatred against the Czar government. This hatred came to fruition in rioting masses against the Czar. The Czar reacted by firing into the crowds, killing many in tragic massacres. Not to mention, there was also rumors that his wife and Rasputin were German spies. All of these problems in Russia came together to form a country that was ripe for change and revolution. This revolution will be brought to Russia by Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin. Previously exiled from Russia, they returned with the teachings of Karl Marx and the ideals of communism. With communism stirred in their hearts, they began a revolution against the Czar, forcing Russia to leave World War I. Soon they overthrew the government in favor of their own provisional one, and now with Nicholas II abdicated, they began to pursue a full-scale revolution, also known as the Russian Civil War. The Civil War was brutal, mostly comprising of urban fighting and treacherous marches. It ultimately ended in the defeat of the White Army. With a successful revolution, Russia began to rebuild itself, and Joseph Stalin, as one of the leading revolutionaries, pursued his own quest for control. After the passing of Lenin, Stalin began to consolidate his power over the party. He assassinated key members of the party and army, even going as far as to pursue one of the key revolutionists, Leon Trotsky, all the way to Mexico to eliminate him. Now, with nobody to rival him, Stalin became the supreme dictator of Russia. He utilized the government's newspaper to create a propaganda machine as well as orchestrate the Great Purge. This purge was a massive witch hunt of anyone that was considered a threat to the Soviets. This included politicians, army generals, and even creatives who simply had a negative opinion of the dictator. Believe it or not, the Russian news outlets actually portrayed the purge as a cleansing of Russia, brainwashing the public into thinking the killings were somehow justified. This totalitarian regime that Stalin created would go on to have effects that would be felt worldwide for many decades to come. Anyways, that about does it for the rise of the three leaders that would go on to kickstart the Second World War. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.